Welcome and thank you for staying with KTN Farmers TV. I'm Philip Keitang, and this is Agri News. Cassava flour, unlike wheat, barley, and rice flours, is gluten-free. It is recommended for people with wheat allergies. In Kenya, consumption of this flour in form of uji, ugali, and pancakes has taken root, with Elizabeth Kikebe, the founder of Muhogo Foods, steering the ship. Margaret Werimu visited the cassava processing factory and files the following report.
In Banana area, Kiambu County, Karori Flour Mills is the processing center of cassava flour by Muhogo Foods. Elizabeth Kikebe started the business back in 2017.
The reason why I started it in the first place, it's because I looked at the market, and when I looked at the situation in Kenya is that people rely mostly on maize and wheat flour. And when there is no maize or wheat flour, we have so many cases of either people dying because they don't have enough food, and I was looking for a crop or something that is drought resistant. I decided to take this building specifically, and when I took the building, I started now doing the cassava flour.
Choosing cassava for value addition, she researched and found a niche in processing cassava into a gluten-free flour, starch and animal feeds, and sees a bright future for Kenyan cassava farmers and processors like herself.
After doing my research on maize, the commonly consumed maize and wheat flour, it didn't impress me, because looking down at the farmers who normally plant maize crops in Kenya, most of them are very, very poor, and most of them do not earn a living from their farms. So we source the cassavas from Busia right now. When I started Muhogo Foods, initially I didn't think about the impact that I was making to the farmers and to the consumers. And so far, if you look at the benefits that I've gotten, the benefits have not come directly to me. They've gone mostly to the farmers and also to the consumers. Looking at the consumer side, there is the gluten-free market, and you realize that the gluten-free market is a growing market. If you have a child who doesn't take gluten, or you yourself don't take gluten, at least you have an option, which is a more affordable option than the currently available flours in the market. And looking at the farmer side, the farmers can now have a better, have an improved or a better living. So these farmers are able to afford to take their kids to school. These farmers can build better houses for themselves, and they can actually buy more things that they need for their day-to-day lives. So the benefits have not come directly to me, but to the people who are directly connected to their business.
Despite the business being a lucrative one in the last 3 years, Elizabeth has encountered some challenges, especially when sourcing for the cassava.
The biggest challenge that I had is where to get the farmers. I actually didn't know much about cassava. So when I started the business, that's when I started learning about cassava. And I got some farmers, but they didn't have enough cassava to sustain this whole market. But with time, I partnered with some NGOs and some other corporates that deal with farmers, and they helped me identify groups of farmers in different regions.
As urban Kenyans have become health conscious in their diets, the demand for traditional foods like cassava has increased. Since Muhogo Foods began operations, the uptake of the company's signature cassava flour in the local shopping areas and beverage outlets has been encouraging.
We have different markets for our cassava flour. So we have this cassava flour, which is fortified with vitamins and minerals. So this flour is mostly consumed by the people at the base of the pyramid. The reason why we introduced this flour is because most of the people at the base of the pyramid are not able to afford their day-to-day vitamins and minerals. So what we decided to do is to add the vitamins and minerals to the cassava flour, and then from there we market it. We normally market it to the BOP areas, and we show them how to make different dishes using cassava flour. Not only ugali, but they can also do pancakes, they can also do mandazis and chapatis. And we've seen a growing market for this flour. So currently it's being sold in most of the slums, such as say Kawangware or Kibera, and it's actually very nutritious. The biggest market for this packet are the middle class and the upper class. So this packet, you'll find it mostly in the in the high-end supermarkets or in the middle income supermarkets, maybe in malls and all that. And we also export it to the US or to Europe, and we've also done the UAE with this packet. Compared to maize and wheat flour, first of all, cassava is very high in magnesium. It's also very high in iron, and it also has some traces of vitamin C, of which you will not find the same in maize and wheat flour. Also, cassava flour is gluten-free. That means if you're gluten intolerant or you have a celiac disease or a celiac condition, at least you can use cassava flour and you can still enjoy your day-to-day meals without fearing the effects of gluten.
With the uptake of cassava farming in Kenya, farmers now have an outlet to which they can sell their raw products for value addition to a nutritious gluten-free meal. For KTN Farmers TV, I'm Margaret Mwirori.
Leaders from Wajir County have urged the national government to come up with a permanent solution to the locust invasion in the region.
The food is for the most vulnerable population, and for deserving cases, and no deserving cases shall be left out. Special groups such as the orphans, people with disabilities, the elderly, single-headed families, and families with extreme poverty will be targeted.
The Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembea met stakeholders to resolve the Naivasha land dispute. The dispute is pitting members of Dambibi Land Company. This was after KTN Farmers TV heard the story.
Kutakuwa pia na viongozi kutoka Mwanamwereri. Mwanamwereri iko mara mbili, zote wote watakuja. Alafu pia tutakuwa na land registrar na provincial surveyor. Tumesema kwamba kila mtu akuja na zile documents ambazo zinathibitisha kwamba ardhi ni yake, ama zile ambazo tunaonyesha trail ya transaction. Niko na haja kwanza kabisa kubwa kujua jinsi shamba litoka kwa mikono ya NDBD ikaenda kwa mikono ya ADC. Ikawa kwamba NDBD ambao wanasema ndio shamba kutoka kwa mzungu, nao viongozi wanasema kwamba kuna wakati wameuzia ADC. Lakini ukiangalia trade ya transaction unaona kwamba kuna wakati ambapo shamba NDBD imetoka kwa NDBD, sio shamba lote ikaenda kwa ADC. And that's why tungependa MD akuje, because ADC the government agency, tukae chini na tuongee, na tutakubaliana, because at the end of the day kama kuna watu wametumia pesa, tunataka tu haki itendeke.
Duckweed has attracted the attention of scientists because of its apparent high potential as feed resource for livestock. The weed grows best in nutrient-rich waters and are common in garden ponds. Normally considered as weed, many aquaculture farmers are now embracing use of the weed as a common feed for their fish.
Technical literature supports that duckweeds have a strong potential as a primary feedstocks for production of livestock and fish. The crop does not produce toxic alkaloids and are palatable to a wide variety of domestic animals and fish. As Robert Mokio, a fish aquaponic expert, reveals that duckweed is a suitable crop for producing animal feeds and that the meat produced from animals feed on duckweed is tasty and nutritious for human consumption.
Duckweed is a plant like any other plant. You can harvest it from the water source, feed it directly to the animals. You'll find cows eating it. You'll find animals such as pigs eating raw the way it is. We also have people who've decided to have it, to plant it on stagnant water. As it multiplies, they harvest it and then they dry it. After drying, they can decide to, formulate it with other things. Probably like you can mix it with fish meal, or rice bran, and then you have a whole feed of your own. We have people who actually use it, feed it directly to even fish, because we realize fish really love taking duckweed. So duckweed can be harvested and given to animals as it is, or it can be dried, it can be ground, depending on how somebody can be able to feed the animal. This is a plant that also needs to receive its own minerals, and it also needs sunlight. So if you have, let's say, a water pan somewhere in your location, in your locality, you can throw a few duckweed there and give it time, a month or two, it will cover the whole area. And by it covering, it's able to prevent, it will prevent things like direct evaporation, because it will form a sheet, yeah? And as it prevents evaporation, if you have aquatic animals down there, they're able to be shielded from predators, yeah? Especially if you have a fish pond, yeah? It can protect your animals.
Duckweed grows rapidly and are high in protein and dietary minerals. They are also low in fiber. The crop grows as small colonies and float on the surface of quiet water bodies. The culture reduces evaporation from the water surface and decreases growth of undesirable algae, as Mokio explains.
And the most important thing about duckweed is it's able to control algae. What it does, it competes with algae of territory, and then since it grows faster, it will be able to choke the algae. By choking, we won't be able to have algae growing around. And algae is very, especially for fish farmers, algae is not very, you wouldn't want your algae growing in your pond. So one way of getting rid of algae is by growing duckweed. FAO has really taken interest on duckweed on different perspectives, in terms of sewage treatment, and also in terms of it being a source of feed, because of its chemical composition. Duckweed grow naturally on stagnated water. If you go around, even on Mombasa Road, you can be able to see where there's stagnant water. You can see green crested leaf plants growing, and they form like a green sheet on top of water. So, like, take an example, if you've seen hyacinth, but now you've seen small things that are real smaller than hyacinth, yeah? Those are duckweeds. And I'm sure most people have seen it, probably you've seen it, but most people ignore it because you think it's quite insignificant as a plant.
Reporting for Farmers TV, I am Marin Munyao.
Up next is a roundup of other agricultural stories that are making headlines in other parts of the world.
Ethiopia has asked the United States to postpone what was expected to be the final round of talks on its giant Blue Nile hydropower dam, delaying the potential resolution of a dispute that sparked a years-long diplomatic crisis. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam had raised fears in neighbouring Egypt that its already scarce supplies of Nile water would be further restricted by the $4 billion project, located near Ethiopia's border with Sudan. Last month, Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan said they would sign an agreement by the end of this month to end their differences over the filling and operation of the dam. The final round of talks was due to take place in Washington on Thursday and Friday, but a spokesman for Ethiopia's Ministry for Water, Irrigation and Energy confirmed the requested delay on Wednesday, saying they needed more time for consultations without providing details. The dam is the centerpiece of Ethiopia's ambition to become Africa's biggest power exporter, and Addis Ababa has denied it will undermine Egypt's access to water. There was no immediate comment from Egypt and Sudan.
It's an innovation that could make wine purists shudder. But a South African startup is hoping to cash in on a rising global trend among millennials for canned wines. And Canny's tins of premium red and white wines are the first to be certified by South Africa's Wine and Spirit Board and are also vegan friendly.
It's the same quality and it's just more convenient to carry around also, and it's quite enjoyable drinking from a can.
The launch is initially targeting a domestic audience before owner Arnold Flock takes a crack at the lucrative export market.
We're very close to exporting to the US. where this market is well established, and I think the European market is especially responsive to our the benefits that we add on our product, which is no sulfur added and vegan friendly.
South Africa produced more than 820 million litres of wine in 2018, making it one of the top global producers. But wine taster Saret van der Heever says there's room for uncanny.
If you serve the wine out of a glass bottle and you pour it into a glass, it will definitely taste different than if you serve it and you maybe drink it out of the can, absolutely. But the core thing is, you're not trying to replace, I think, existing wines that's made in a specific way and that's served in a specific way.
Uncanny sells its 250 milliliter aluminium can for around 40 rands or under $3.
Christophe is a specialist cutter of the Seychelles' famous love nuts. The sea coconut is unique to the island chain and known around the world for its suggestive shape. Christophe's job is to split the husk and harvest the pulp, which is sold internationally. Some cultures consider it a powerful aphrodisiac.
Well, normally the Chinese. And also local people has a sort of superstition that they can grind it and put it in the alcohol, like whiskey, they can drink, and it gives them strength. That's a might, you know.
Once extracted from the shell, the coconut pulp is sorted, dried, and packed for export. It's a zero-waste operation. The leftovers are processed into oil, and the empty husks glued back together and sold as souvenirs. Christophe has honed his skills for 10 years now.
You feel Seychellois when doing this type of job, and it is unique in the world. So I feel really, really, really proud.
The pulp can sell for almost $100 per kilo, and an empty husk fetches double the price. After centuries of over-harvesting, the love nut has almost disappeared. Since 2011, it's classified as an endangered plant species.
It's first of all one of the iconic natural resources that we have. And when you have an iconic natural resource, it's always under pressure.
The Seychelles have taken drastic measures to protect the love nut, which is the largest nut in the world. Harvesting is limited to under 2,000 per year. It's illegal to export the whole nut, and strict controls limit its sale. Authorities hope this will help save the unique fruit from extinction.
On today's Sauti ya Mkulima, we feature mango farmers from Machakos County who share with us some benefits of mango farming.
Nimeona manufaa mingi. Mimi kama mzazi sisumbuani na watoto. Wanipe pesa wasinipe, mimi niko sawa. Hata wakati mwingine pia ninawapea. Hii shamba inaniweka vizuri. Wakati wa kuuza nikipata pesa ninaweka bank. Tutaendelea na kutoa tu kidogo kidogo tukingojea msimu mwingine.
But in most cases we saw our mangoes on the farm gate. That fetches like a minimum average of 7 shillings per piece. Yeah. I have one buyer like University of Nairobi.
Yeah.
Like this morning, they were here and they carried 500 pieces.
Wow, at how much per piece?
10 shillings.
10 shillings. That's a good price.
Yeah, that's a good price. Yeah, and they promised to come next week. And they have been buying my mangoes because I produce off-season mangoes. They have been doing it every year.
Nafurahia sana hii ukulimaji wa maembe, matunda. Nafurahia sana juu zinanifatia mambo mazuri sana. Hizi basic needs sikuangi na shida. Na mimi hata saa sote sikimbili bwana wangu nipatie. Juu nikiuza ninapata pesa, ninaangalia ni nini haiko katika mboma, ninanunua. Saa ingine hizi pesa zinatusaidia kuongeza shamba, zinatusaidia kulipa karo ya shule. Na hata kwa msimu hii ya maembe, nimefurahia sana juu nilipata 100,050 na nikanunua ng'ombe ya maziwa.
Now let's look at how different agricultural commodities are performing in different markets across the country. It is also that time that we also sample some of the feedback that you continue giving us on our social media platforms. And one of our viewers says, "Good evening, my name is Edwin. First of all, thank you very much for the good programs you air. They are very informative. Kindly give me the contact and the location for pig farm you featured this evening on Smart Pigs." Thank you very much for your feedback. One of our producers will be sharing the contacts with you. But in the meantime, keep it KTN Farmers TV. Another viewer also says, "Hi, thanks very much for what you are offering us. Please put me through to Mr. Kukutia, the sheep farmer in your program. Thank you very much for your feedback. One of our producers will get in touch with you and will share the feedback. But also in the meantime, keep it KTN Farmers TV. There's also another viewer who also says, "I'm watching from Nairobi. I'm David. I have started beekeeping in Githigia, Kiambu County. So please help me with Professor Kindiki telephone number of Ruiru." Thank you very much. One of our producers will get in touch with you and will give you the contacts. That is all from Agri News today. I'm Philip Keitan. I will now leave you with the weather forecast.